Boruto and The Matrix, two stories that follow the paths of characters destined to save the world. Boruto of course being the star of hope and Neo being the one. They also share many other similarities as well, which makes sense given the fact that the main inspiration behind Boruto's manga is The Matrix itself, as confirmed by its author. So in this video I'll be explaining every similarity between these two universes as you guys requested. Who knows, maybe by the end of this one, you might have an idea of where Boruto's story is headed. So with that said, let's get into it.
Surprised to see me?
No.
Then you're aware of it.
Of what?
Our connection.
Now, the first connection we need to address is that of the Matrix and infinite Sukiyomi. This also ties back to the function of the 10th house in Boruto's manga, but let's start with a brief history lesson on the Matrix itself. In the 21st century, mankind created the first artificial robots in its image. A few years after this, robots pretty much became second-class citizens, which caused them to rebel against the humans. The machines then created their own city and created a technological utopia, which then resulted in an imbalance on the market, and the planet became dependent on the machines. Due to this, the leaders of humanity implemented a trade embargo and organized a complete blockade of the city. The machines then sent ambassadors to the assembly to find a compromise, but the negotiations failed. The humans then killed them and dropped a nuke on Machine City. This of course triggered a war, which machines were winning. So the humans created a plan known as Darkstorm, which was used to block out the sun using nanites, thus cutting off the machines from the solar power they needed to run. The war then tipped briefly in the favor of humans, but the machines then go on to create more advanced models of robots, no longer built in the image of their former human masters, but increasingly resembling the insectile sentinels of the Matrix films. These machines had the ability to use willing human supporters as well as conscious human prisoners of war to power their armies. This was done by harvesting their bioelectric energy. This allowed them to wipe out the rest of the human resistance, and the entire planet pretty much became a battery factory for the machines. Now, to keep humans subjugated, the machines created an artificial intelligence known as the Architect to study humans, who then went on to create the Matrix.
Hello, Neo.
Who are you?
I am the Architect. I created the Matrix.
So, in its current form, the Matrix is a detailed simulation of human civilization as it existed in the late 20th century before the advent of AI. Humans pretty much live out their entire lives inside the Matrix, totally unaware that they're living in a simulation, while of course the robots feed off the energies generated by their bodies. Now, this might seem a tad bit familiar, and that's because this is also how the Otsuzukis drain the life of a planet. As stated by Amado in chapter 46, the Otsuzukis consume the energy of a planet by first planting what's known as a tentel seedling. It then grows into a divine tree after consuming an Otsutsuki, thus producing a chakra fruit. Now, this process can occur by itself as shown in the past with Kaguya, but in some cases, the Otsuzukis tend to utilize an ability known as infinite Sukiyomi, which puts everyone in a dream state. This, of course, similar to the Matrix, makes it easier to subjugate humanity and continuously feed off their energy with little to no resistance. So you can see the clear similarities between the two universes. Both possess advanced entities with unparalleled technological advancements that subjugate humans to feed off their natural energies. Both universes also possess dream states which imitates reality, while also keeping the humans in stasis pods or trees that preserves them. Now, this also does go a bit deeper than that, given how Momoshiki describes the Shinjutsu known as omnipotence. He calls it the programming language of the gods that were used to create worlds, the will to make anything real. Now, this is interesting given the use of the term programming language, which is a set of instructions that tells a computer how to perform a task. So if the ability that created the world is a programming language, does that mean the world itself is computer generated? This, by the way, is a consistent theme in the Boruto universe, where villains and concepts have some relation to computer language, such as bug being a computer bug and Ada being a reference to the first computer programmer, Ada Lovelace. Then you have code, which of course is a computer code, and this is really important since code infected the Tentals with Ishiki's essence, or his code per se, which caused him to evolve. This also ties back to the Matrix as well, since Neo, just like Code, infected Agent Smith with the source code of the Matrix, which caused him to evolve as well. So, before being infected with Neo's code, Smith was just a regular program within the Matrix that was assigned a specific task. He didn't understand the concept of choice, nor was it something he thought about. You could say that he operated on a base instinct or programming which defined his one and only purpose. This of course is similar to the Tentals prior to its evolution into the Shinju. It only possessed the base instinct to consume an Otsutsuki and absorb the life of a planet. That is what it was programmed to do. That of course changed when it was infected with Ishiki's code through Code's Karma Seal that bled into the power of the claw marks code embedded in the Tentals. So the Tentals, similar to Smith, evolved and became something new. It became free. So these entities are no longer enslaved by the instinctual desire they once had. They now want different things. Others have gained priority over their primordial instinct, just like Smith.
Now here I stand because of you, Mr. Anderson. Because of you. I'm no longer an agent of this system. Because of you, I've changed. I'm unplugged. A new man, so to speak. Like you, apparently free.
Sajura, just like Smith, is now a rogue program that evolved beyond its base instinct, who also wants to create more programs just like him, thus the birth of the other Shinjus. Now, if Boruto does go on to take further inspiration from the Matrix, we might see a case where he has to team up with the Otsutsuki to stop the Shinju. This would of course mirror what happened in the Matrix Revolutions, where Neo worked with the machines to purge the rogue programs such as Smith that now flooded the Matrix as a way to broker peace between man and machine. This resulted in the Matrix being rebooted once again, but this time humans are allowed to leave if they wanted to and exist in the real world. Oh, by the way, this failure of the Matrix is actually a normal occurrence. It happens once every 100 years, when the massive errors begin to accumulate and a reboot is needed to correct the simulation, otherwise a fatal system error will occur that will demolish the Matrix and kill all of humanity connected to it. And at the same time, it would destroy all the robots that feed on people. So the path of the One, that being Neo, was created by the Matrix itself to aid in the reboot, which cleanses the system before failure. Now, this might be relevant in Boruto's case as well, since Momoshiki said that the gods have used omnipotence to mess with the memories of humans multiple times in the past. Which is interesting, since every time the Matrix is rebooted, the memories of humans connected to it is also erased. So, if Boruto takes this path as well, it might later be revealed that Boruto's universe itself is a simulation which has been rebooted a couple times in the past. Of course, some higher programs would have knowledge of this, as was the case in the Matrix as well. Now this is kinda weird, since that would make Infinite Sukiyomi a dream within a dream, which also does line up with the Matrix as well, since there's also a real world, the dream world known as the Matrix, and also a dream world within the Matrix called Modal. Now of course Ikimoto doesn't need to go one-to-one, so it might also be the case that Infinite Sukiyomi is the only dream state similar to the Matrix, but the ninja world itself is also created by the Otsutsuki, but it's just real, unlike Infinite Sukiyomi. Now another thing to point out is something brought up in Boru's cult episode in Boruto's anime. You see, there does exist a subset of humanity who believes that the Infinite Sukiyomi was a good thing. This stemmed from Boru himself, who spread the lies that he experienced the miracles of Infinite Sukiyomi, leading him to view it as a jutsu that is meant to save people. Now, to spread this ideology, he would spread his virus under the guise of a plague in towns and villages, then making his presence known publicly and curing the affected villagers. He then taught his followers that salvation could be achieved through Infinite Sukiyomi, and framed the 5 great villages as evil for murdering several of his gods. Of course, those gods being the Otsutsuki. Now of course, this was clearly inspired by the subplot of the Cypherettes in the Matrix. This group of very special individuals uphold the ideas of a character known as Cypher. He was someone that was disgusted by the nature of reality itself in comparison to the relative comforts found within the world of the Matrix, which is why he helped the machines. So his followers, known as the Cypherettes, very much disagree with the idea of awakening humans to the truth of the war between mankind and machines. These guys, similar to Boru's cult, believe the same thing, which is that the dream world is better than reality itself.
The path that leads to salvation is the infinite Sukiyomi!
Now, we also have other similarities as well when it comes to the red pill and blue pill. The red pill represents the choice to learn a harsh, life-changing truth about reality, while the blue pill signifies choosing to remain in blissful ignorance within the simulated world, essentially staying unaware of the true situation. This is represented by Boruto and Kawaki's red and blue karma seal. Both represent staying true to the status quo, maintaining the shinobi system and everything within it. Kawaki represents the red pill, which is to instill change and destroying the current system. As he said in the fight atop the Akage monument, the age of shinobi is over, while Boruto of course says he's still a shinobi. Now of course this isn't a one-to-one, and it shouldn't be. The idea is that they both represent opposing ideals, and the colors of their karma seal are used to draw that parallel to the dynamics of the red pill and blue pill.
That's right. The age of shinobi is over.
I'm still a shinobi!
Now we also have other comparisons as well, such as Follow the White Rabbit, which was used to lead Neo to the truth. And of course then you have Kaguya being the rabbit goddess, and her past being the truth behind the existence of shinobi. That including the fact that she's able to transform into a giant white rabbit. Now this is also shown in other characters as well, such as Sumire imitating Persephone, who by the way was envious of the love between Neo and Trinity, which should sound familiar given recent events. You also have Amado of course being the architect, and Sarada's hairstyle matching Trinity's, while clearly being Boruto's love interest. You also have Boruto himself imitating the scene where Neo flies at top speed to save Trinity when he saves Sarada and Himawari. There's also Kashin Koji having the Oracle's power to see the future, though it is a tad bit different. Now, there's also the concept of why, which I covered in depth in my recent video on Boruto's plot twist in chapter 79. So, I'm not going to go in depth on that again. You guys can watch that video, it's right there. You can get the in-depth analysis. But since this video is supposed to cover every similarity between the two universes, let's do a summary. Now, this is important because it is the driving force behind why Momoshiki thought the future would play out in his favor, and that's because he couldn't understand the why. The why is also a concept brought up in the Matrix, which also led to the future agent Smith was able to see not coming to fruition. This all goes back to the eyes of the Oracle, which is pretty much the most powerful weapon in the Matrix itself. With them, one can predict future events to a certain extent, but even this powerful weapon has its drawbacks. One cannot see beyond choices they do not understand. Neo also developed the same power as the Oracle, but could not see past Trinity's death because he didn't understand at the time why to save Trinity or humanity. This weakness of the eyes of the Oracle is what she used to defeat Agent Smith.
I told you before, no one can see beyond a choice they don't understand. And I mean no one.
What choice?
It doesn't matter.
So, in this clip, the Oracle was referring to a future she witnessed where she decided to allow herself to be assimilated by Smith, but even she cannot see past that decision, and that's because she doesn't understand it. This is also why Smith was afraid in the final battle versus Neo. Smith assimilated the Oracle and gained her power to see the future, so he saw Neo on the ground defeated and thought he saw the end.
Wait. I've seen this. This is it. This is the end.
So Smith foresaw that he beat Neo, but didn't see what would happen next because he couldn't understand Neo's choices to continue fighting, much less why Neo would allow himself to be assimilated. So Smith can't see past Neo's choices because he doesn't understand the why. So Smith asks Neo, why?
Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why? Why do you do it?
Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why do you persist?
This then takes us back to Boruto and Momoshiki's prophecy about him losing everything.
Heed this warning. Beware, for those blue eyes shall eventually take everything from you.
Momoshiki saw this future for Boruto and thought he was going to win. This played out in chapter 79 when Ada used the programming language of the gods, known as omnipotence, to switch the lives of Boruto and Kawaki. So Boruto became the enemy of the village, lost his parents to Kawaki, and had nowhere to turn. Or so Momoshiki thought. You see, while Boruto did lose a lot due to omnipotence, he didn't really lose everything. Sarada and Sumire weren't affected by the ability, which then led to Sarada convincing Sasuke to help Boruto. Momoshiki didn't see this when he glimpsed into the future, and that's because he doesn't understand the why. As he said to himself in chapter 80, it wasn't supposed to go like this. Why would Boruto not despair and turn his body over to him when he has nothing left? Why would he continue fighting? Why would Sasuke help Boruto for his daughter's sake, even though he perceives Boruto to be an enemy?
Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why? Why do you do it?
Why, Mr. Anderson? Why? Why do you persist?
So, Momoshiki, just like Smith, can't understand why these humans continue to persevere because he doesn't understand certain emotions, which would of course inform the why. So the future itself didn't change. Momoshiki, just like Smith, just couldn't see it in its entirety because they couldn't understand the why.
And all of them as artificial as the Matrix itself. Although only a human mind could invent something as insipid as love.
Now this of course is just a summary, so again, if you guys want to see more evidence as to why this makes sense, go ahead and watch the video on screen. But that's it guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comment section. If you guys want to see more videos just like this one, let me know as well. And again guys, I really appreciate the support so far. So yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.